Hi, I'm Jason Inman.
And I'm Ashley Victoria Robinson.
And we went up, and away to review Supergirl Season 3, Episode 12 for good. And if you haven't seen this episode, you might want to fly back later because there will be super spoilers.
Morgan Edge accuses Lena of plotting an attempt on his life, and Kara steps in to help her.
All right, so let's work our way through the episode. But before we do that, we just want to remind you about our podcast, Geek History Lesson, every single week on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all the places that you can listen to podcasts. You can listen to our podcast, Geek History Lesson, where we break down a character from pop culture every single week. And this week, it's about a little Arrow guy. It's about a character on Arrow. Who are we talking about this week, Ashley?
We're talking about Vigilante, taught by you.
That's right. If you want some Marv Wolfman comic book goodness that ties into Arrow Season 6, you're going to want to go listen to that podcast on iTunes or at geekhistorylesson.com.
Hey.
All right, so let's talk about Supergirl. Enough about Arrow Season 6. This is not an Arrow Season 6 video. This is Supergirl
What?
Video. All right, so the episode begins with, we get John and the DEO. They're having a meeting about some of the world killers, and then they decide, you know what, we're just gonna track every meteor shower around the world, which I think is a nice little clever Smallville reference done by the writers. You know, tracking meteor showers give you powers. Meteor freaks from Smallville.
I don't know anything
Ashley
about Smallville.
didn't watch Smallville.
No.
She's missing out.
No.
It's on Hulu, not an advertisement. Okay, so we get a scene where Sam thinks that she is getting a brain tumor, of course, like that. We get a nice little scene between James and Lena walking in the street. James thinks that she's controlling. He doesn't really want her at business meetings.
Yeah.
And also, I really like the idea because one of them says a line, well, no, it's because you're a Luther.
Yeah.
And then we get overactor, chewing the scenery extraordinaire in a good way, Adrian Pasdar. I don't know how you say it.
I think it's Pasdar.
I'm
sure people will tell us in the comments.
Morgan Edge, he shows up in this episode, and they get a very interesting conversation about what makes a powerful woman. And Edge basically flat out insults Lena and says,
I mean, Edge says what you would expect every insecure, middle-aged white guy
Stockbroker?
to say. Yeah. And Supergirl will do things like this, and they do it several times throughout this episode where they do have these things that feel very topical and feel very of the time. I liked this instance of it because he's great and Lena's great, and I liked her speech about, like, I'm a powerful woman and like owning that, and I liked how that became her arc throughout this episode.
Yeah. I do agree with you that the other instances of ringing that bell did get tiresome.
And I just think they were done less successfully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of them weren't executed well. And I don't really want to talk about this anymore because there's another instance that I think this episode really bungles.
Yeah.
And this is the best one exactly because Lena is smart, she's capable, and she stands up for herself, and you're like, you're a great character. I like you.
I also think it's interesting that this episode started with the DEO scene, and then we don't address the meteor showers or the world killers or, like, really anything else.
Till the end.
Till the very final scene, and I actually thought, I was like, oh, great, like, we're gearing up to do these things and make some discovery, and then we had kind of a bottle episode.
No, because this is another episode where we have to stretch the plot because we can't defeat the big bad this episode. The big bad spends the whole episode getting her brain scanned.
Yeah, and getting pep talks from Alex. By the way, shout out to Alex. How'd you heal that leg so fast, girl? Tell me your secrets.
That's right.
They broke her leg like 2 episodes ago.
No, I think it was last week. I don't think it was that long ago. Then we get a great line with Morgan Edge, of course, going up to the... Morgan Edge is a bastard to valets. He's like, what are you doing with my car? Come on!
Sleeping in it?
Yeah, sleeping in it. But then we get where his car brakes are broken, and he actually goes out back through the car, jumps out, which I actually think shows his smarts, or that he's had too many assassination attempts, and he knows exactly how to escape from a car.
I thought that Morgan Edge's stunt double did a really good job. The nice little roll there. I also wondered as I was watching this, I was like, do people cut car brakes anymore? It feels very 1950s to me.
You know, it would be more the idea that you hack the car more than anything because the car computer controls the brakes.
Prius?
I have no idea. I mean, it definitely has a computer, and I can tell you. So. Soon we learn that Kara's source at the police station shows that Edge's car has no sign of tampering. Of course, we're wondering, like, what is the source
I loved
that
scene because she's like, my source at the NCPD. And I was like, what source? We've never met anyone from the NCPD. Now, it makes sense if she's a journalist that she would have sources there, but I think this was a real opportunity to open up the world a little bit and at least drop a name.
Well,
and I was sad that they didn't drop a name.
The downside is that they've either used all their names or they've moved them to other series. Henderson is now on Black Lightning.
Yeah,
he's typically a Superman character. And then we got rid of Maggie Sawyer.
Yeah.
Now, you could introduce my favorite Metropolis cop, Dan Turpin. Why not do that? Why not? Why not introduce Dan Turpin?
I would love it.
You know?
That'd be so great.
And then I would say even go one step further, and Mike from Breaking Bad, I believe his name is Jonathan Banks.
Yes.
He's Turpin.
Oh, that'd be so. They couldn't afford him.
No.
He'd be awesome. That'd be great. Done.
Yeah. All right, so soon we get a scene where Lena does her best Old Yeller impression and gets poisoned by coffee and foams at the mouth. That's how Old Yeller dies.
I don't like it when people's food get poisoned. I think it's so lame. But this scene, right, because Eve Tessmacher comes in and has one entire line where she gives her the coffee. And I was just like hoping so much that we were going to reveal that she had been Morgan Edge's plant this whole time.
And evil.
Yeah, I wanted that to happen. And then
that's so much better.
It didn't happen. That guy who looked like Mon-El came in. Jimmy had to chase him into the street.
Yeah, so Jimmy chases the dude down. The guy gets shot.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Being poisoned by coffee comes off as a little bit Golden Agey to me.
Which... we've had Silver Age and Golden Age references before, but I think it felt a step too far, maybe.
But the future bullet was cool, and
Very
that was
cool.
the cool aspect of it, and I was like, oh, it would have been more... Because we do see drones later in this episode.
Yes, yeah.
What do you think about if we adjust it slightly? What if it was a drone that tried to shoot Lena?
I think that'd be great.
You know, like we go through the whole drone aspect. I don't know. Again, we're trying not to rewrite. So we find out that it's cyanide. Kara has to use her super breath to save her, which I thought was a cool idea. I like anytime we use superpowers in creative ways.
I also like, even though I don't like Alex to scene with Sam, I like it when Alex gets to do some field doctoring because that's something that she has as an area of expertise over everyone else. So I thought it was a nice beat for Alex as well.
Then we get to see everyone's favorite hero, Guardian.
I think when he showed up, Jason actually said, "What is he doing here?"
I thought we were done with this idiot, and I don't want to talk about him anymore. Lena wakes up, of course, after she's cured. She said, like, I dreamt of flying. And then she reveals that... and it starts her plot line through most of the episode where she's like, I think maybe Rain should kill these bad guys because these people are bad and they're kind of terrible. And I'm a Luthor and maybe I do want to kill Kara. And I took a gun a couple episodes and waved it in Edge's face. Let me ask you about this scene right here. This is definitely an episode where this is Lena's episode, definitely.
Absolutely,
and this is an episode where Lena's acting more and more and more Luthery. During most of this episode, I got the idea that we're definitely setting up Lena for the villain of season 4. Do you agree with this?
I agree, and I think this is the beginning. And I think by this point, Lena knows.
By the end of the episode, I think we have we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
I have a specific scene where I think Lena figures it out.
Yeah. But I do think this is a villain turn for her. And towards the end of the episode, she gets more villainy, and now she's supposed to be playing the villain. But she's epic there, so I do hope that we get a little more mustache twirling out of her.
Sure. We learned a little bit about the futuristic bullet, and at first when they talked about this futuristic bullet connected to Edge, I thought we were going to go for an Intergang dark side turn, but then we learned that it's a Lex Luthor bullet, and we see Mama Luthor's back, Lillian Luthor.
She's so great.
And apparently Lena is the worst 5th grader in the world because she tried to like ruin some 5th grader's life with their diary powers.
Well, that's what children do.
But there was a great line by Lillian and some great dialogue in this scene because I love the actress that plays Lillian Luthor. And she said, why be Cat Grant when you can be Lena Luthor?
I wrote that down as well.
Yes. And Lena's like, go ahead and murder Edge. I'm fine with it. And this is again, we get the sense that Lena's going to become more Luthor-like.
Yeah.
Do you like Mama Luthor? Are you glad that she's back?
I do like Mama Luthor. I like her sporadically.
Yes, I agree.
I felt like we got too much of her during the Cadmus arc last season.
Agreed.
But I liked her showing up for this episode. But I'm hoping that she goes away immediately. But yeah, I like her when she shows up.
So then we come to what I think is the biggest problem of this episode. We have a scene between Kara and Lena in Cat Grant's office, and I'm still calling it Cat Grant's office, so that's just deal with it. And they're sitting on the couches, they're looking at each other, and now the previous 2 scenes before this scene was Sam, Alex, Kara, and Lena sitting on the couches in Cat Grant's office looking towards each other. It cut to a scene on the balcony of Cat Grant's office, to which they walked back in to have another scene sitting on the couches in Cat Grant's office. We also had the scene where Lena wakes up. We had the scene where Lena in the coffee. We had the scene where Miss Tissmacher brings in the coffee. We have all this stuff. A majority of these scenes in this episode took place on the couches in Cat Grant's office. Now, Ashley, this episode does end with a pretty big CGI fight.
Yeah.
Do you think, because the scene between Kara and Lena and the scene between the four of them basically use the exact same camera angles, and I noticed it because, again, one of my first gigs was, sorry to interrupt you, one of my first gigs was as an editor, and so that's the reason why it popped out in my head, and this screamed to me as, oh crap, we don't have time to plan this or block this, set them all in Kat's office.
I was gonna agree. I don't even mind that it had to be in the office the whole time, because it's a beautiful set.
I don't mind that.
It's a very dynamic, I had the opportunity to be on that set. I just
look
don't
at that.
understand.
No, I got to go too.
I just don't understand why they framed it as two girls sitting way back, not sitting up, slouched in these couches that
with very flat angles.
Yeah, like it's just a standard medium. Like, there's a lot of interesting ways they could have shot that office, and they could have moved those actors around. Or had
somebody standing behind the desk, had
someone sitting on the desk,
have the whole scene on the balcony,
someone fixing papers on the floor. Or like you could have. And
but they chose to have every scene sitting down.
I think it was a strain of production, because I think too, when they go to the party scene later, that's where most of the effort went.
That fight's pretty long at towards the end.
But not even the fight. Like, from the moment Lena and Kara, and we're skipping ahead, so I apologize, are walking up.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of business that goes on a multi-layered set there. So I don't know, but it was unfortunate.
This scene also ended with another problem area where we're going this whole time where we're like, Lena's got a smart brain, Lena's a Luthor, Lena can figure it out, and then she turns on a television and gets the clue.
Yeah.
What? How does that prove your character's smart? It just proves that your character's really good with convenient timing to turning on a TV.
Well, it proves that that
let's just move on.
You didn't have, yeah.
We get to the good scene again with Morgan Edge and Lena sort of cackling evil villain back and forth at each other. Yeah. There's some great scene tuning, and then the bad CGI drone shows up, but I will give a pass on this drone because that drone immediately envelops Mama Luthor and becomes the green comic book Lex Luthor suit. And I know when this moment happened, you and I were like, what?
Yeah, it was
so even though most of the CGI on that suit was bad, I really enjoyed that the suit is now introduced. I have a prediction about this suit now.
I love Wynn's enthusiasm for the suit. Someone make a GIF and tweet me, please.
Yeah, even Wynn loves it. I think it's really good. But, you know, we have a giant fight. Mon-El plays joysticks with a drone. Guardian gets a really dumb joke. Why is Guardian here, by the way?
I think it's... I thought this party gala scene was very interesting because I didn't like any part of it except the Luthor scene.
Yep.
And Runaways, the Marvel Hulu show, had an entire episode at a gala that didn't have a fight scene in it that I thought was more dynamic than what we saw in the last 15 minutes of Supergirl this week.
More dynamic than this 5-minute episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get the moment where Mon-El reveals himself to Lena Luthor while standing next to the car. And this is the scene because as far as Lena and Luthor knows, Mon-El is Kara's boyfriend. And I think seeing that Mon-El is alive and seeing Mon-El next to Kara is where it goes ding, 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 ding. Now, we didn't get that reveal in this episode. It would have been even cooler if we do. But I think we're going to play the long game with this. I think we're going to get that reveal in the season finale. I think from this point on, Lena knows.
But if you're Supergirl and you realize that that's just happened, like, Mon-El, how do you not just take him and start shaking him really fast to obscure his face?
Well, here's the real question with this.
Why didn't he just go home?
Yeah, why did Supergirl need to go down there and talk to her? She didn't.
Well,
Guardian had Lena.
Yeah.
It was fine. So we get a couple of things. Sam's test comes out clear. Okie dokie, we don't care. We get a great line from Mon-El being like, Brainy and I did a similar thing to Computo.
Yes!
Which is a Legion of Superheroes reference, and that is Brainiac's kind of Ultron, if you think about it, towards Avengers.
Very much so. Yeah.
And then we get a reveal of the other World Killer, and Kara realizes through a really bad CGI montage that that's her, and when they ask her, why did you know? She just goes, just cause the script told me. She doesn't say that line exactly.
It was actually, I thought, a really troubling reveal because she she was the only not white world killer that we had a picture of.
I think that's. I honestly think that's looking too much into it.
Oh no, I think that's just an oversight.
Sure.
But it's a bad oversight.
Sure. Let's go straight into the rating based on a scale of 1 to 5 Supergirl shields that won't be on screen. Ashley, what do you give this episode of? I forgot the title of it.
For Good, which I'm pretty sure is a reference to the song from Wicked.
Oh, it is, definitely.
I think that For Good is not a great episode of Supergirl.
Okay.
I think the plotting of it is really muddy. I think there's a lot of things that are revealed that were like the Supergirl identity that were not supposed to be revealed. But I think that even though it's a kind of a mess, the parts that make up the messy sum are good.
Mm-hmm.
There are some good interactions. There's no Ruby to be seen.
Oh, that's a good part.
We get a Lena.
That should at least pop it up a point.
A Lena personality. I'm living for evil Lena. I can't wait for that to happen. We got Lillian back, and we got the Luthor suit, and I think just for that I'm going to give it a 3. But I think structurally there are some problems in this episode. How about you? What are you going to give For Good?
I agree with you. There are some structural problems in this episode, and this is very much an episode of, oh, we're just waiting around.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we got a Lex Luthor suit. Yeah. We got Adrian Pasdar. We got Wynn making some Luthor jokes. And we got Lena Luthor herself, probably in her best episode of the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you. The strengths far outweigh the faults, and I actually think make this a good episode, but it's still a 3.
Yeah.
I couldn't give this a 4. I was so close to giving this a 4, but a couple things like shooting on the same set the same way kind of bumped this down. But I actually hope that more episodes of Supergirl season are like this than the other way. I think this being a Rain Light episode really helped it.
I agree, and I unfortunately I think the same thing about the Legion.
Sure. Let's go straight into our predictions. Ashley, based on this episode, what do you think's happening in Supergirl?
I think that the first person who's going to realize that Lena is maybe having a personality shift is actually going to be Jimmy.
Ooh.
And or James. He'll always be Jimmy Olsen.
He's
to
Jimmy.
Me. And I think that this is going to be what heralds him leaving the show.
Oh.
I think it's been evident from the way that character is treated and the way he's been written that he really only had an arc through season 1 and we had no more plans for him, or for whatever reason it changed. And I think due to the fact that he's been in a lot fewer episodes this season than previously, I think there's something going on. I don't know on what side where this there's going to be a break there, and I think it's going to come from Lena and I broke up, I'm giving the company to her, and I'm leaving. Also, because at this rate, we need a new Catco boss, because he's been in the job for too long.
Okay.
Because we get a new Catco boss like every season or so.
I mean, we've only had 2, so.
2 and 3 seasons. So every season and a half, we get a new Catco boss. So that's what I think is going to happen, and I think that that's going to be the beginning of how Kara figures out the turn. How about you? What do you think is coming down the pipe for Supergirl?
We got 2 pretty big revelations in this episode. 1, the Lex Luthor armor is portable. 2, the Lex Luthor armor can be worn by people other than Lex Luthor. So if you put those 2 things together, I wonder who could wear the Lex Luthor armor next. If only he had a sister that was a villain in the oh yeah, Lena Luthor. The finale of this season, Lena puts on the armor. Now,
Do you think that's how she defeats Rain?
Now, yes. I think Lena puts it on to help Supergirl, but then maybe the kryptonite energy source infects her, and maybe this is going to be their excuse for why Lena goes full on evil kryptonite poisoning, just like Lex in the comic books.
And then all her hair falls out.
Let's hope. So go down to the comments, tell us what you thought about this episode of Supergirl. Click subscribe and then that little bell next to subscribe so you get notifications every time one of these videos happen.
And if you want more exclusive geeky content, go to patreon.com/Jawiin.
Yes, thank you to all who helped us out. We hit a new goal over there at patreon.com. Listen to some exclusive podcasts, and we'll see you tomorrow night for Flash and Black Lightning.